So we've had a lot of drivers reach out to us about these tracking apps that brokers are making them download. So if you're a 1099 driver or an owner operator, I need you to watch this all the way through because at the end of this video, I'm going to give you the one question you should be asking all of these brokers when they try to make you download a tracking app. And that question can start protecting you immediately. This video isn't about hating brokers. It's not about avoiding technology, and it's not about drivers refusing accountability. This is about control and where the line between independence and employment actually gets crossed. One of the things that drivers hear from these brokers when they explain why you need to download this app, they'll say it's just for visibility or it's for the customer or everyone's doing it. And on the surface, that is, it sounds reasonable, but the law doesn't care what something is called. It cares how it's used and what happens when a worker actually says no. That's right. You can say no, I'm not doing it. Independent contractors, 1099 drivers, however you want to call it, they're all defined by one simple principle. They control how the work is done. Independent businesses choose their tools, their processes, and how they actually operate. Employees are monitored. They're assigned systems. They are disciplined for non-compliance, some of them even fined. And that difference isn't philosophical, it's legal. So the real question isn't whether tracking is illegal. The real question is whether tracking creates control. Tracking crosses the line when it becomes mandatory. Okay. When refusing an app means you lose a load, you get deprioritized, or you're quietly removed. When that app data is used to pressure pickups, question routes, enforce timing, or justify penalties or rate reductions, at that point, it's no longer visibility. This is what is called behavioral enforcement. There's also a cost side that rarely gets talked about too, okay? These apps run on your phone, they run your data, your battery, your storage, and your time, photos, check-ins, updates, compliance steps. Independent contractors can absorb costs by choice, but not when refusal means losing work. Cost shifting combined with enforcement is a red flag. Now, here's where it gets serious at, okay? If a broker tries to fine you, charge you a non-compliance fee, if they try to deduct money, reduce your rate, or withhold payment because you didn't use a tracking app, that's not contract enforcement anymore. That's discipline. Independent contractors don't get fined. Employees do. And when financial punishment is tied to how you operate, guess what? That's control. If retaliation follows, don't be scared of retaliation or losing loads, being removed, sudden policy changes that look, that doesn't protect the broker. What it does is it exposes them. Courts look closely at one thing. What happened when the worker said no? Retaliation doesn't erase control. It actually proves it. And yes, in certain situations, brokers can be pulled into misclassification cases. Misclassification isn't about job titles. It's about who controlled the work. And brokers usually stay insulated because they are coordinating, the freight, not the labor. But that insulation breaks down when coordination turns into enforcement. That's what you're seeing in a lot of these lawsuits today. This video isn't saying all brokers are bad or that tracking is always illegal or that drivers shouldn't use technology. It's saying independence has to be real, not just on paper. Direct freight is the goal, but pretending just get your own freight is a starting point instead of an end state ignores reality. Most small carriers and owner operators don't have equal access to capital, data, or shippers. The system knows that, And when middlemen start imposing employee level control without employee level protections, that's where the lines get crossed. Now, if you've stayed with me this far or this long, here's the part that actually protects you. And if you have a pen and paper, write this down because this is what's really, really important. All right. So, when a broker asks you to download a tracking app, this is what you say. And you say this in writing. You don't do this on a phone call. Ask him to do you take text messages? Yes, whatever. Get his number, text it to him, and this is what you text them. All right. You need to tell them, I am a independent contractor, and I do not install required third-party software on my personal device. I'm happy to provide you location updates by check calls, email, or agreed upon milestones. Most of the time, that will stop it right there. All right. A lot of times they'll call your company and start complaining to your company, but the company can do the same thing. If they get nasty about it, and if they really, start pushing you, the only thing you got to do is ask one simple follow up question. And again, you need to do this in writing, you need to do this in text, and ask them this: can you clarify whether use of this app is optional or required, and whether refusal affects load access or payment? This is big. Okay, it's really big. That question matters because what it does is it creates a record, it forces clarity, and it exposes control without accusing anyone of anything. And if after that question is asked in writing and money gets taken, pay gets reduced, or access to work disappears, that's no longer a misunderstanding. That's documented enforcement tied to compensation. You see, as 1099 drivers or independent contractors, we don't need to fight with these brokers. We don't need to threaten them. Let them rant, let them go off on their tangents. But we need to ask for clarification. All right. And this is the smart way to handle this. And look, if your independent disappears the moment you ask that question, you were never independent to begin with. And they know it. That's why this matters. That's why Broker Week matters. Because structure matters, control matters. And independent either exists or it doesn't.